When we think of horror cinema, we often think of jump scares, CGI creatures slipping out of dark corridors. But true dread doesn't come from shock value. I'm Divya Davi, and today we are looking at how cinematic language creates terror where story alone cannot. However, as a student of film studies, we recognize that genuine cinematic terror is rarely constructed throughout narrative alone. It is engineered throughout the precise mechanics of cinematic form, specifically camera positioning, framing, spectral manipulation, and sound design. In this video essay, I will analyze the acclaimed South Korean apocalyptic series Sweet Home. Rather than reviewing its plot or character moralities, I will examine how the filmmaker used the core tools of film studies to construct psychological anxiety and demonstrate claustrophobia. To illustrate this, I will conduct a close reading of two pivotal sequences from the series, demonstrating how camera placement, mise-en-scène, and diegetic sound operates as the primary drivers of screen tension. To begin, let us look at our first sequence.
Hello, hello, hello.
Notice what occurs in that single sequence without a single line of spoken exposition. The camera relies on a tight close-up profile of Cha Hyun-su, capturing his physical gasps of terror, while the clawed hand of blind monster creeps into the extreme right edge of the frame. From a film study perspective, this sequence is a masterclass in a spatial vulnerability. By using low-key lighting and a tight, restrictive frame, the director stripped away the character's line of sight. Yunsu cannot see the full form of the monster, and neither can we. The camera places us directly inside his subjective emotional state, proving that fear in cinema is often constructed by what the camera deliberately chooses to hide. Let us unpack the theoretical mechanism behind this visual structure, starting with cinematography and mise-en-scène. In film theory, mise-en-scène encompasses everything placed before the camera: the lighting, set design, props, and actor blocking. In Sweet Home, the primary setting of season 1, the decaying green home apartment complex, operates as a pressure cooker of claustrophobia. To establish character helplessness, the filmmaker frequently employ high-angle shots. A high-angle shot positions the camera above eye level, looking down at the subject. Visually, this compresses the actor into their surrounding environment, making them appear small, defenseless, and psychologically trapped. Conversely, when monstrous threats enter these narrow corridors, the visual grammar flips to low-angle shots and Dutch angle shots. A low angle shot places the camera below eye level, forcing the viewer to look upward, which visually inflates the scale and dominance of the monster. When combined with a Dutch angle where the camera axis is intentionally tilted sideways, it destroys the horizontal stability of the image, causing instant spatial disorientation in the viewer. Furthermore, the choice of lens is critical. In these tight apartment corridors, the directors frequently use wide-angle lenses. A wide-angle lens has a short focal length that subtly distorts the outer edge of the frame. In confined architectural spaces, this visual distortion stretches the hallway, making the physical environment feel uncomfortably unnatural and wrapped. Now, let us examine our second and final sequence where the thread expands from the doorway to the window frame. In this clip, pay close attention to how the window frame functions as a structural boundary within the mise-en-scène. A window in cinema traditionally represents safety, a barrier dividing the protected interior human sanctuary from the chaotic world outside. Here, the director subverts that expectation by positioning a grotesque giant eye directly in the center of the window frame. This creates a powerful cinematic effect known as the reverse gaze. Instead of the protagonist looking out at the world, the monstrous gaze penetrates the domestic space, transforming the survivor from an observer into a helpless target. The window frame no longer protects, it escapulates. Besides the visual framing, clip 2 perfectly demonstrates the crucial role of sound design in horror cinema. Film studies categorize a soundtrack element into diegetic sound, audio that originates from within the story world that characters can hear, and non-diegetic sounds such as added musical score. In this sequence, notice how the soundtrack deliberately suppresses heavy, non-diegetic orchestral music. Instead, it relies on acoustic isolation and diegetic silence. The sound mix amplifies subtle tactile audio cues, the harsh scraping of skin against glass, distorted optical forcing noises, and heavy irregular breathing. By stripping away non-diegetic music, the sound design deprives the audience of emotional comfort. We are forced into absolute auditory alignment with the protagonist, experiencing the exact acoustic vulnerability of character hiding in near silence. To conclude by constructing these two distinct sequences, the intimate claustrophobic close-up at the doorway and invasive reverse gaze throughout the window, Sweet Home demonstrates the immense power of pure cinematic form. The series proves that horror achieves its highest psychological impact not throughout dialogue, narrative exposition, or plot twists, but throughout deliberate application of camera angles, spatial framing, and diegetic sound design. When these elements align, cinema acts to merely tell a story. It allows the audience to physically experience space, fear, and survival. This is Divya Davi. Thank you for watching.